Hey guys, so I'm coming to you from my car today, so I'll see how the connection is and see if this is going to work or not. This is kind of my office today. I can take these out, I guess. So yeah, get some peace and quiet. Went and got my cup of coffee, so grab your cup of coffee and join me if you're watching this live or on the recording. Sit back and relax, and I'll share a little bit of information today on the deeper reasons why you might be chronically tired. So I touched on this yesterday if you caught the Facebook Live. I talked about exhaustion and how it's such a big issue for so many people. It seems to be the number one complaint. Everybody is just so tired. And generally, it's not just that you didn't get enough sleep. If you can pinpoint it to that and you usually have energy and it's just little things like that, then that's one thing, and it's probably not a big problem for you. There's not stuff going on internally that's a big issue. But if you're finding that even if you get like 8 hours of sleep and you're still just tired during the day, and it could be all throughout the day you're tired, or it could be in spurts, and we kind of we start to think that that's just normal because so many people are struggling with this issue. So we just feel like it's just normal to feel that way. But we really shouldn't be feeling that way. We're meant to feel a lot better. Think about when you were 5 years old and the amount of energy you had, and imagine having that energy today. And that's something that is actually achievable. So we don't have to be feeling like this, exhausted at the end of our work day, or having that 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. slump. That's not normal, and it doesn't have to be that way. So the other day I talked about sort of imagining, thinking about what your life is like right now with being tired and no energy, and then imagining how it could be if you had an abundance of energy. But today I want to talk about the issues that might be going on in your body. And I can't go too deep into it because that's pretty much like a whole course. So I'll touch on the reasons, give you some tips on if you think that's a problem for you and what you can do about that. And then at the end, I'll give you a few takeaways. I've got like 3 or 4 takeaways of things that you can start with right now to improve your energy. Okay, so the first one that I see is a problem for a lot of people, and you don't notice it or you don't realize it, is chronically dehydrated. So many people are chronically dehydrated with the coffee that we drink, which I'm drinking right now, but I try to offset that with water, the processed foods, and we're just not drinking that much water. So that's one of the easier things that you can change. Just try to drink more water. Like I said yesterday, drink a big glass of water first thing in the morning. It becomes a habit, and that's when your body absorbs the water best, is on an empty stomach. So and then try to whatever trick works for you, have a big jug of water out in sight and try to drink it throughout the day. I'm not going to give you an amount of water that you should drink because everybody's different. So you probably know if you're not getting enough water. And it all depends on how much you exercise, how much water is in the food that you're eating or drinking. If you're drinking lots of green smoothies and all that, that's water content there too. So that's one thing that you can start with, and is a big problem for so many people. And even if you notice an afternoon lull, just try drinking a full glass of water, and that might pick up your energy too. Another reason, and this is probably the number one reason why so many people are tired, is low thyroid output. So you maybe have gotten tested because maybe being tired is a problem for you. You've told your doctor and they said, we'll do the blood work. But those tests seem to be, well, I guess I'll say that often you're still in that normal range, and you can have a low thyroid output that is causing like a lot of fatigue. So it is a problem for a lot of people, even though they maybe are still in that normal range. So your thyroid, and this is a fairly big thing to explain how you can improve your thyroid function. So I won't go deep into that, but with pretty much all of these things, depending on, or it doesn't really matter what the source is, what the root cause is with a lot of these things. If you just try to do things that'll get your body back into balance, it seems to sort of fix everything. I'm not really explaining this very well, but if you've got one issue and you do the things that help your body to work well on its own, then you'll notice that other issues clear up too. So okay, so I won't talk too much more about the thyroid. Another big thing that's causing people tiredness is food intolerances. And this was actually a big thing for me, because I cut out being tired all the time was one of my biggest issues. And I had cut out gluten and dairy, and fairly soon after I noticed a big change in my energy. I cleaned up my diet a little bit too, so that probably would have helped too, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But food intolerances, if your immune system is on attack constantly, and that's what happens when you have a food intolerance, your immune system thinks that, say it's gluten. When you have gluten enter your bloodstream, enter your mouth, and then when you have a food intolerance, I guess it's in your digestive tract, and sometimes it gets into your bloodstream too. Your immune system sees it as a foreign invader, and it goes on attack. So you are in a constant, if you're still eating those foods that you're intolerant to, and most people we don't realize that we're intolerant to them, so we're eating them day after day, and your immune system is on high alert constantly. And so it is draining all your energy into that. So that's huge. And that can be a little bit tricky too, figuring out what you are intolerant to, because it's different from a food allergy. With a food allergy, you consume something, say that's peanuts, and you notice right away you have a reaction. Or if there's something else and you get hives right away, that's generally an allergy. An intolerance is generally a delayed reaction. For the most part, it's 12 hours, 24 hours later that you'll notice symptoms. Occasionally you'll notice some things right after you eat, but generally it's delayed. So if you're eating something weekly or daily, and it's really hard to pinpoint what's causing you to have all these symptoms, usually an elimination diet. You can get tested at a naturopathic doctor, or an elimination diet is helpful. And that is 3 weeks, 21 days of cutting out the top allergenic foods. And then after that, you systematically reintroduce one food at a time and really try to make note of symptoms. Do that, introduce one food, and then 3 days later, another food. That can be a little bit tricky too. But that's the testing, or the elimination diet generally are the best ways to determine that. Another one that is making so many people tired is stress, and that's chronic stress. So if you have just a stressful event that happens and then it goes, and that's fine. That's not going to really affect your body too much. But there's a lot of people that have chronic stress day in and day out, and that can be so depleting. So it can affect your adrenals. You can have, I don't know if you've heard of this term, but adrenal fatigue can happen if you're chronically stressed. It can affect your cortisol levels. It can affect your blood sugar levels, and I won't go into detail with all these, but and it can also, probably one of the biggest things is it can deplete your vitamin and minerals. So those are the reasons why that is making you tired. And then another thing is our diet. So if we're eating a lot of sugar, processed foods, processed carbs, then that can really cause a lot of tiredness. I would say those are low energy foods. So you want to be eating more high energy foods. So swap those out as much as possible for more vegetables, cooked or raw. Some more protein, quality protein that's not overly processed or cooked. And the reason that sugar and processed foods, there's a couple different reasons that they cause issues. Sugar can also, like just as it can with stress, it can it will deplete your vitamins and minerals. And this is kind of a side note, but I can't remember the the actual fact behind it, but it's something like if you have a meal with a good amount of sugar in it, your immune system for hours or maybe a day after is greatly hindered. So cold and flu season, if you don't want to get that cold or flu, try to really cut back on your sugar. So that's kind of getting off topic a little bit, but and so this kind of leads me too into blood sugar. Actually, I'll take a step back. With that sugar, you might think, okay, I don't eat too much sugar. Like I'm not putting sugar on my food, or I'm not eating candy or cakes. But even toast, even whole wheat toast, that all turns to sugar right away in the body. So sugar, processed foods, any processed packaged foods, processed carbs like breads, pastas, those can all be draining on your body. Okay, and the next one is blood sugar. And I touched on this the other day with the sort of the quick energy hacks when I mentioned about your blood sugar level and having a breakfast that'll give you a more balanced blood sugar level throughout the day. And that is a big factor in exhaustion as well. So you want to have a meal, your meals to include a good source of fat and a good source of protein. If you have a high carb meal, you'll notice that you're yawning and you're exhausted afterwards. Having more good fat and protein will keep your blood sugar more balanced and will prevent the blood sugar spikes and drops throughout the day, which also will prevent the cravings. So I like to focus mostly on your breakfast. Like I mentioned before, have a good quality breakfast with high fat and high carb, or high fat and high protein, and that'll get you going, get you on a good start for the day with less cravings and more energy. And I notice a big difference for myself. So if you start with a good breakfast, then you'll notice at lunchtime you're more able to make a healthy choice. Afternoon snack, you're more able to make a healthy choice, and even into the evening. So make sure you're getting enough fat. So many people aren't eating enough fat. And then I'll just touch on a gut bacteria balance, and people are talking about this lot, so you maybe have heard a little bit about it, how important your gut bacteria is. And so Candida overgrowth is a really big problem. There's other bad bacteria too, but Candida seems to be the biggest one, and so many people have an overgrowth of Candida, and for quite a few different reasons that can cause you to be tired. So you want to try to get your gut bacteria back into balance, and you can do that through just changing your diet, getting away from so much sugars, processed carbs, even just less carbs in general, and to more, like I said, healthy fats, and even just a lot more vegetables. Green leafy vegetables are awesome for changing your gut bacteria. If that's all you did was change your diet and didn't necessarily add in a probiotic supplement, that can even make a huge shift in your gut bacteria. So with every bite that you take of food, you're feeding your gut bacteria. So if you are consuming a whole bunch of sugar, then you're feeding the bad bacteria, the Candida that feed off of sugar. If you're eating a lot more kale and spinach and vegetables and avocados and nuts and seeds, then those bad bacteria won't be able to survive as well, and you'll start to shift that bacteria balance. So those are the main reasons. I kind of talked quick through that. The main reasons that we are exhausted. And let me just look at my notes for a second. So to boost your energy, you want to focus more on the good foods and eliminate the bad foods. So I touched on that a little bit. Another tip, you want to eat regularly and not overeat. So I didn't mention that. Actually, another one, while I think of it, digestion. Poor digestion is a big problem too, and that if you're not digesting well, then you're not absorbing your food well. Your body's putting its energy more into digesting. So you also want to help with that a little bit is to eat regularly and not overeat. So you'll notice if you just get stuffed, then you're just tired after that too. So that's a little trick. Focus on your blood sugar. I mentioned that. So, and so 3 takeaways that I've got here for you. Don't eat primarily carb meals. So I mentioned that before. So you want to focus on looking at what your plate is made of, and you want to make sure you include some healthy fats. And if you want a list of like healthy fats and quality proteins, let me know in the comments and I will put that in there. So yeah, I'll list a couple, like avocados, nuts and seeds, salmon, coconut oil. So those are some of the healthy fat sources. Don't eat too much. I already mentioned that. Eat higher energy foods. I touched on that a little bit. So you want to eat more of vegetables. They still have their digestive enzymes intact as one reason for it. We digest it a lot better. And less of processed carbs, especially with additives, colorings, things like that. That can take a toll. And lastly, you want to hydrate. So those are a little bit all over the place, but those are a few things that you can focus on right now. And I will mention a little bit, I'm currently working on a program for in January. That's when we all want to kind of focus on our diet and on our health and change things. And we often think, okay, this year I'm going to make it different. And so I'm in the process of developing a program, and for the first go around, the price will be very reasonable. So, and once you, similar to the 7-day cleanse, once you purchase it once, you can go through the group as many times as you want. You've got lifetime access. So I won't talk about this too much, but I am going to talk about that just for a minute. In the next week or two, I'm going to have the opportunity of, I'm going to take on probably about 10 people to be beta testers, and you won't have to do too much with that. It'll just be, as I'm creating the program, I'm going to put you in a private Facebook group, and just occasionally I'll do a little poll, and you'll just have to probably between like 2 things. You'll just check yes or no, or I like this better than this, and you actually get to help curate the program, because I want to make sure it's designed for exactly what you're needing, and I want to run it at a pace that you like. I don't want to just throw everything at you and have it be overwhelming and not doable in your daily life. So I also want it to have tons of content, and I want it to really be able to be effective for you. And it's a proven plan. It's a plan that my mentors have used. It's the plan that has worked for myself. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that in the next couple of weeks, if you think you would be interested in being a beta tester, it would be, I'm looking at about 75% off of the regular price of the program. So if it's something you think you might like to have for 2018 to start your year off in January, then I encourage you to buy early. So you would be purchasing it in likely mid-November, but you would be getting a huge discount, and with just giving me a little bit of feedback as I create it. And I think that's about it. If you have any questions about that, or if you think that's something you're interested in and you don't want to miss out on it, you can send me a message and just say put me on the list for getting the information once it's out. Because I will only have a few days, maybe up to a week span for you to opt into that, to be a beta tester. And if that's something you might want, I don't want you to miss out on it. So watch for that, or send me a message. And I think that's about it for today. Hopefully I didn't ramble on too much or go on too long. I'm hopefully I'll get a little bit better as I go. So stick with me, and hopefully these videos will get better. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you got something out of it. Thanks. Bye.